Welcome to Put a Word on It, a podcast presented by Men of Valor. In each episode, we're going to talk with a different man, but each one with a unique journey from brokenness to freedom. I'm your host, Rudy Kalis. I spent over 40 years as a TV sportscaster, then retired and joined the Men of Valor program as a volunteer, so join the conversation. Reconciling men to God, their families, and society. Welcome to Put a Word on It, brought to you by Sage Spring Wealth Partners. We thank them so much for their kind contribution and help to this program. We hope you had yourselves a great summer, and we're back. And I'll tell you what, you can tell around me, we're in a new studio setting. A wonderful opportunity to expand with new cameras and do more things that are wonderful opportunities for us to share with you. The beauty of this is it's a young man on staff who did a lot of this work, Daniel Wise. Loves his electronics, loves putting this together. It's put a big smile on his face. He has a unique talent. The beauty is that all of us have a talent. He did all along, but in many ways he had to go through hardship to find out how blessed he was. Daniel, this is really pretty interesting. I mean, have you got a background in electronics and in media preparation and such?
No, just some personal hobby stuff that I've done at home, like I just piddling here and there, I mean, I've always been good with computers, but as far as the media and video and audio stuff, it's just kind of a new thing.
I love the stuff that you do. We've got new cameras in here, got new monitors and such, all of that. And you set up the floor. You said it took a couple of months to do it?
Yeah. We had, with the help of some guys here in the program, another staff member, we just tackled it, jumped in and just put our creative itch to use,
Has that always been as a kid growing up? Were you always inquisitive, always wanting to look for these projects of things to do?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I love building. I love just creating.
What kind of a kid were you growing up?
Goofy.
Why?
Really goofy.
I like that though.
Yeah, I was the class clown. I don't know. I just love to laugh. It really helps people break the defenses down and just opens up. It just helps people open up to you.
Was it to get attention from people and make them feel good, or was it the natural guy inside of you?
I think there was some both, a little bit of both in there. There were some times where it was just me, but then other times I do feel like I definitely used it as a defense,
You're a Nashville kind of a guy. You spent a good part of your life here, went to a local high school here in town. Any brothers and sisters? Tell me about family.
So I've got two brothers. I've only met one of them. We all have the same father, different mothers. One of them I do know. He lives in Florida now. He's an awesome guy. I didn't meet him till I was 18. We started rekindling.
Did you know about him?
I did. I knew about him as a child. I'd heard about him. I think I remember even seeing him at one point, but we didn't connect until many years later when I was 18 over Facebook, of all places.
Wow.
Yeah.
So two brothers.
Mm-hmm.
That's and mom and dad, were they together? I mean, of course, you said different brothers with different moms, but family setting for when you were growing up.
For me personally, no. I mean, my dad was around periodically. He was kind of in and out of the home most of the time. My mom has always been consistent in there for me.
You've gone through the Men of Valor program, so somewhere along there, that fun-loving guy must have had some things happen in his life. What happened?
Yeah, so like I said, Dad was in and out, but the times that Dad was in, it wasn't great. He was a pastor, but he was also an alcoholic. So he had this facade in front of the public eye, but when behind closed doors, he was abusive, drunk most of the time. And so I grew up in a lot of traumatic environments, being around him, and it was just not ideal for a child.
Do you think he spent more energy towards the congregation presenting the right stuff, and then it was like, when I got off of the pulpit back home, I can be who I am?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's always been I've always had two dads, in a sense, of whoever he was in the public eye, and then whenever he would come home, it's very stern, very strict, iron fist. But then that iron fist got a little heavier when he got drunk.
Did it make you want to run away from God? Or
Absolutely, I did.
How?
I saw as if that's what God turns a man into, I don't want anything to do with it. Not at all.
How did it manifest itself? How did it grow? How did you wind up being
Mhm.
incarcerated?
um, Series of very bad decisions. Alcoholism since I was 15. Kind of took in the footsteps of my dad. As hard as I tried to fight being who he was, I just, for some reason, I think me running so hard away from it turned me into him. Um, and so I just started getting in trouble. Ended up dropping out of high school in the 10th grade, running with the wrong crowd. And I think eventually it all just kind of caught up to me. I started doing drugs when I was 21, 22 years old. It was in 2013. My father actually burned down the house that I was living in with my mother and I while we were in it. And that
This is
kind of,
documented.
yes.
Wow.
And so that kind of set me into a spiral of depression and drug use. Had a lot of insurance money at the time, after all that happened. So I'm running around wild with a bunch of money, and my mind is just sporadic. It's crazy. I have no idea what I'm doing with my life, and I just started filling it with drugs and alcohol and women and trouble. And by the time I was 27, I was on the run from the law.
For what? Selling?
No, so I got aggravated assault with a deadly weapon.
Oh, there you go.
I ended up pulling a loaded pistol on someone in traffic. Middle of the day, just road rage, just no regard for anyone around me. Like in my world, the only person that mattered was me.
There's more and more of that now. I'm real concerned, careful when I'm driving. I don't want to switch lanes. Hope I don't want to cut somebody off. Society has a lot of that going on right now.
Yeah, they do.
Let me ask you about, from your father's standpoint, do you think there was a lot of embarrassment? Look what my son is doing to the name that we've put together as a preacher, that you were an embarrassment to him?
No, I wouldn't say so much an embarrassment. I could see where that could have crossed his mind at some point, but he wasn't around long enough in any congregation or any community long enough to really even care about that himself. He'd be in, put on the good show, make a somewhat name for himself, and then disappear.
Wow. How long were you incarcerated?
I was incarcerated off and on 4 years.
4 years.
Here in Nashville.
When did God come back into this?
I was 29. Well, I tell you, let me back up just a little bit. A buddy of mine dropped a Bible off at my house before I had gotten arrested. And I had a court date and all this. And I was like, you know what? I'm just going to take this Bible with me. And the girl I was with at the time, she was like, what are you taking that for? You don't need that. Crazy, one of those God sightings, right? So I got a court date, go to it, get out. They rescheduled me for, I think 5/26 was the court date. So I was walking away from the courthouse and I just happened to open that Bible. I was like, let me see, what's this number 5/26, right? Just random, who knows, just a prompting, right? Opened it up and in big letters, it's just my name, Daniel. It's the first book of the first page of the book of Daniel. And I'm just like, I closed the book real fast and I'm like, oh, yo, okay. That's a little creepy for me, but that started it's that seed planted, and now I know it was him calling me by name. And as I progressed through my journey of being incarcerated and being around people in the prison who just spoke God to me. Hey man, this is what you're doing wrong. This is who can heal you. This is who can save you. This is who can bring you back to where you want to be. God came into my life in a cell, and he just broke down. He showed me my life. He showed me, do you want this death and this destruction that you've had, or do you want all the good things that I have for you? Because I have good memories as a child. I had good memories growing up. I had good memories. Even in the midst of my addiction, I had good memories. I had my first son, in 2015. He was born in the midst of my addiction. But he was a light in the middle of the darkness, and God shone that light hard on him in the moment that I gave my life to Christ.
A lot of times you hear God can't use you greatly unless he's allowed you to be hurt greatly, to put a depth inside of you that understands the past. I mean, what you're doing now, you came out and you went through Men of Valor's program. And I see this guy in front of me with his back, this natural sort of a smile about him now. Do you think everything that happened to you was for a purpose to get you ready to do what you're doing now?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, God showed me how to be a father by not allowing me to have a good one. He's shown me how to lead men by becoming one I shouldn't be, and he's shown me how to just be a husband and a leader of my family, which I'm so grateful for. My beautiful wife and my 2 kids, and we've got one on the way. And so that's so exciting. But yeah, he's just shown me so many things by allowing me to be in the mess and to really help me appreciate what I have.
Wow. I just love it. With a wonderful wife and children as you've done in your life. The program has put a word on it. Have you got a word
Yes.
for me?
Yeah, Jesus.
Whoa. Simple.
Jesus.
Straightforward.
Just Jesus. Yeah. Yeah. 1 Corinthians 6 says that we've been washed, sanctified, and justified by the name of Jesus and by the Spirit of God. And man, before he mentions that, he talks about all these sins that these people were committing and being thieves and greedy and immoral. And he says, and you were some of them. And I know that was me. I was some of them. But by the name of Jesus, man, I have been washed and justified and sanctified, and I am free.
Such a straightforward name and such a straightforward commitment. God bless you, my friend.
Thank you. God
I love
bless
that
you.
smile. Well, let me put a word on it. I mean, what can I say? Jesus is the word. It's the first time in 3 years that we've had someone just very openly, honestly just say, he's my Lord, and he's the key word for me. Daniel's got a huge career ahead of him. He's got a wonderfully blessed young man who's going to add a great deal to the program and do so much for his life and for his family, all from a past that taught him all these things through hardship. Thanks for joining us. Join us again next time as we put a word on it.